here's Microsoft saying like, we're a unifier. We bring everybody together, and it's your games wherever you want. And Microsoft's gonna double down on what they do best, which is software. Another big news that came out this week was Microsoft is partnering up with Steam, Battle.net, and a few others to essentially allow you to play all of your games library in one location with one unified UI. Does that make sense? Like, you're gonna launch it.
Combine Steam, Epic Games Launcher, Battle.net, Activision's version of that.
Yeah.
Square Enix version of that. Put them all in
Right.
one hub.
One hub. So once, like, it looks and feels like an Xbox, but the sources are now from everywhere else. And I think this puts Nintendo and Sony in a very interesting spot because it's always about content, right? Since the beginning of time, it has been your audience will go to where the games they want to play are. Nintendo has known this for decades because if you want to play Mario, there's only one place to play Mario.
That's Switch too.
The reason why Switches sell. But on the Sony and Microsoft side, over the last couple of years, we've seen this trend kind of go in the opposite direction. But now here's Microsoft saying like, we're a unifier. We bring everybody together, and it's your games wherever you want. And Microsoft's going to double down on what they do best, which is software.
Yeah, I think PlayStation Now is pretty much dead, right?
I think so, right? I think PlayStation or Sony was scrambling over the week because this is going to, so like this concept of a console war is just like it's gonna be game over, because there's no more console war, right? Like we're seeing Meta headset, you can play Xbox games. We're seeing Asus or ROG Ally,
handheld
right?
Xbox games
and handheld. Well, it's full-fledged games in handheld mode, right? But on top of that, Microsoft's on the Windows side, right? So on the just on the PC side, I'm confusing my brands. Microsoft's basically coming out and saying like, hey, we're just gonna give you a UI that just works and just you have your games. There's no more launchers and this and that or the other. Find this library, find that library. Like your games, your game saves, as you move from one place to another, from one device to the other, we're going to be an integrator system where everything is just kept together. And then you got Sony saying, well, we're still doing consoles. And then you got Nintendo saying like, well, we're just doing that thing. And it's going to be an interesting move because like gamers are going to speak loudest where they have the biggest convenience.
I think Nintendo is always going to have their own ecosystem. It's never going to be until they start putting their games on Steam and stuff, which they haven't, they won't. They're not going to be susceptible to dying. Right? You can still only play Nintendo games on Nintendo services or consoles.
But don't you think that that's going to be a dying breed?
Nintendo?
Well, you and I still care about Nintendo games. My kid could care less about playing the next Mario game.
But my kid loves Pokemon, and he's going to grow up with Nintendo. It's just the way you raise him, buddy.
Just the way you raise him?
Yeah, your kid doesn't even know. Your kid doesn't even like Fortnite. Weirdo.
No, my kids like Fortnite. They just prefer Roblox.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I was very mesmerized watching Jeremy play that Square game. Did you see that when he was playing?
Yeah. No, I mean, I will tell you that I think my kids now, though, my kids could care less about consoles in general. And I think there will be a divide where like, what happens when your kid expects to play Pokemon on his whatever device he's on? Right? Because what happens when nine games out of 10 are going to be wherever they want, and then they're going to have to like buy that one console?
I thought that's me growing up, man. I wanted to play Halo. I bought an Xbox. Did I expect my Halo to play on my Game Boy? No. Game Boy was for Pokemon.
Right. But the times are changing in that you can now buy a device and all your games library, minus Nintendo, will be there. Because even Sony's playing game, right? Sony is going to offer up exclusives as well.
I think Sony already fell into the trap, unless it was very open. But when Spider-Man, the PlayStation exclusive games, came to Steam, that was before Xbox announced their whole idea was Steam. So I think Sony had already walked into it, and then
Ah,
Microsoft's like, "Gotcha, got God of
yeah,
War, I got
they're
Sony,
guilty.
I got Spider-Man."
They're guilty by association.
Yeah, they walked into Steam, and then Microsoft's like, "Thank you." That's what I'm saying. Nintendo's safe because they haven't done that yet. You cannot play any games outside the Nintendo ecosystem.
But I kind of feel like Nintendo is not safe because of that.
I maybe in certain pockets of demographics, like the kids that grew up with iPads. But like my kid's not going to get an iPad. Me and McKenna already talked about it. He's going to have a Switch because the Switch is a closed network Nintendo device. You can't even add people without a friend code. It's super safe.
Super safe.
You know?
Yeah, but then
That's what I'm saying. There's going to be different pockets of kids, and eventually school will bring them on to one.
I get that, right? But you're also then at that point limiting yourself quite a bit.
Me or my kid?
Nintendo. Because the audience the pool gets smaller.
But they get older. And I know a lot of Nintendo Switch people that are at that line playing Smash Bros. I don't play Smash Bros like that, but there is that group. There's a group of people that still play religiously. I've seen them.
Yeah.
They exist.
I don't know. I think Nintendo, again, my 2 cents, if I had to personally see this going to the future and I was Nintendo, I would open up AIP. I would open it up.
For what?
To do the Microsoft thing, right? Where in the whatever Microsoft's going to call their platform, I want to just be able to play all my games library in one location.
But I think you should do Nintendo.
But then I'm willing to go digital at that point.
But yeah, welcome to the future. Finally, I was just talking to Tony.
If I can buy once and play everywhere, that is a future.
Yeah, I was talking. Well, dude, okay, I've been telling you this. You're like, oh, come to my house.
No, but you can't do that. But it's fragmented today.
Not that much.
But it's still fragmented.
Okay, where? Tell me right now where it's fragmented. I'll tell you if it is or isn't.
Well, case in point is Epic Game Stores versus Steam, right? There's games on one and there's games on the other. Yeah, I mean, you have to still use them both.
You can still play crossplay.
I get that, but you still have to have separate installers, separate stores, separate payments.
Yeah. Oh, so like, for example, Splitgate is a multiplayer Halo game that came out. I have it installed in Epic Games. Tony has it installed in Steam. We launch it up together. And we can.
But I'm not arguing that part. I'm arguing that for me to carry my collection with me, right now it's fragmented. I have to. Okay. There's games that I have on the Xbox. There's games that I'm going to have on Steam. Games that I'm going to have on the Switch. Games that I'm going to have on the PS5. Right? It's fragmented like it was for the last 30 years. But Microsoft's offering a feature where like there's no more fragmentation. You pay once and you play everywhere.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
And the convenience of just, again, you press one button and you have this nice UI and you have all your game libraries. It doesn't matter where they originated from. It doesn't matter if you got them on Steam or Battle.net or Epic Game Store or the Microsoft Store or the PlayStation Store, right? Like they all are just right there ready to play.